One of Hollywood's greatest directors created movies that made millions laugh and cry. But his final chapter ended in a tragedy nobody saw coming. This is the story of Rob Reiner, and what happened in his final days reveals a heartbreaking truth about family, addiction, and how even the most successful lives can end in unimaginable pain. From making legendary films to a son's battle with drugs that ended in the worst possible way, his story shows that fame and success can't protect you from life's darkest moments. Stay with me because what happened on December 14, 2025, will leave you speechless. Let me start with who Rob Reiner was before we talk about what happened. Rob Reiner was born on March 6, 1947, in New York City. His father was Carl Reiner, one of the most famous comedy writers and performers in television history. Growing up as the son of a comedy legend put huge pressure on young Rob. He always felt like he had to measure up to his father's success, which included 12 Emmy Awards and respect from everyone in the entertainment world. That kind of pressure shapes you as a kid. You either run from it or you use it to push yourself harder. Rob started his career as an actor, not a director. In 1971, he got a role that would make him a household name. He played Michael Stivic, nicknamed Meathead, on the CBS sitcom All in the Family. This was one of the biggest shows on television in the 1970s. The show dealt with serious topics like racism, politics, and social change through the character of Archie Bunker, a bigoted working-class man, and his liberal son-in-law Mike, played by Rob. The chemistry and conflict between these characters made television history. Rob won 2 Emmy Awards for this role. He was a successful actor with steady work and recognition. But Rob didn't want to just act. He wanted to create his own stories. In 1984, at age 37, he made his first film as a director. That film was this, his Spinal Tap, a fake documentary about a ridiculous rock band. The movie was shot mostly with improvisation, meaning the actors made up their lines as they went. This style was revolutionary for Hollywood at the time. The film became a cult classic and basically invented the mockumentary genre. Movies like The Office and shows like Modern Family exist because of what this Spinal Tap did first. It's considered one of the funniest movies ever made. What happened next was extraordinary. Between 1984 and 1992, Rob Reiner directed 7 films in a row that were all either critical successes or box office hits, and most were both. After Spinal Tap came The Sure Thing in 1985, a college road trip comedy starring a young John Cusack. Then in 1986 came Stand By Me, a coming-of-age drama about 4 boys who go looking for a dead body one summer. The film was based on a Stephen King story and became an instant classic that people still watch today. It earned an Oscar nomination for Best Adapted Screenplay. In 1987, Rob directed The Princess Bride, a fantasy adventure comedy that has become one of the most quoted and beloved films of all time. Lines from that movie like "Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father, prepare to die," and "As you wish," and "Inconceivable" entered everyday language. The movie featured an ensemble cast including Carrie Elwes, Robin Wright, Mandy Patinkin, Billy Crystal, and the wrestler Andre the Giant. It wasn't a massive hit when it first came out, but over the years it grew into a cultural phenomenon that multiple generations love. In 1989, Rob directed When Harry Met Sally, a romantic comedy starring Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan. This film set the standard that all romantic comedies have tried to match ever since. The famous deli scene where Meg Ryan fakes an orgasm became one of the most iconic moments in movie history. The film was nominated for an Oscar for Best Original Screenplay. It proved Rob could do romance and comedy at the highest level. Then came 1990 and Misery, a psychological thriller based on another Stephen King story. This film starred James Caan as a writer held captive by his obsessed fan, played by Kathy Bates. Bates won the Oscar for Best Actress for her terrifying performance. The movie showed Rob could do horror and suspense just as well as he did comedy and romance. And then in 1990 came A Few Good Men, a military courtroom drama starring Tom Cruise and Jack Nicholson. The film gave us Nicholson's legendary scene where he screams, "You can't handle the truth." It was nominated for 4 Oscars including Best Picture. Think about that run. 7 movies in 8 years, 7 different genres, all of them successful. all of them memorable. This is the kind of streak that puts you in the conversation as one of the greatest directors of your generation. Rob wasn't just making movies, he was making cultural touchstones that define the 1980s and early 1990s. In 1987, at the height of this success, Rob founded his own production company called Castle Rock Entertainment with several partners. This company became hugely important in Hollywood. Castle Rock produced Seinfeld, which changed television comedy forever. It also produced films like The Shawshank Redemption in 1994 and The Green Mile in 1999, both of which are now considered all-time classics. Rob's influence extended beyond just the films he directed. He was shaping the entire entertainment industry. In 1989, Rob married Michele Singer, a photographer and producer. They met while he was directing When Harry Met Sally. Together they had 3 children. Jake, their oldest son, became involved in filmmaking and worked as a news reporter in Houston, Texas. Romy, their youngest child and only daughter, also became a filmmaker. And then there was Nick, their middle child, who would eventually bring unimaginable tragedy to the family. After his incredible streak in the 1980s and early 90s, Rob's later films didn't reach the same heights. He continued directing throughout the 1990s, 2000 Seconds, and 2010 Seconds with movies like The American President in 1995, which was good but not groundbreaking. He made other films that got mixed reviews. Critics said his later work lacked the magic of his earlier films. But even if his later career didn't match his early peak, his legacy was secure. He had already made multiple films that would be watched and loved forever. Rob also became known as one of Hollywood's most prominent liberals. He was deeply involved in politics and activism. He co-founded the American Foundation for Equal Rights, which fought for same-sex marriage rights. He spoke at rallies about domestic violence, tobacco use, and other social issues. He was an outspoken critic of Donald Trump. His political activism made him a target for conservative critics, but he never backed away from his beliefs. He used his platform and his voice to fight for causes he believed in. But behind all this success and activism, Rob was dealing with the family crisis that he spoke about publicly. His son Nick had been struggling with drug addiction since he was 14 years old. Nick cycled in and out of rehab facilities for years. He battled heroin addiction. In 2015, Rob and Nick worked together on a film called Being Charlie, which was based loosely on Nick's struggles with addiction and his relationship with his parents. The film told the story of a teenager fighting drug addiction and going through rehab. In interviews promoting the movie in 2016, both Rob and Nick were open about how the story came from real life. Nick told People magazine that parts of the film drew from his experience living on the streets when he didn't want to go to rehab. Rob said in interviews that making the movie with Nick was a way to process what they had been through as a family. It was personal and painful. Any parent who has watched a child battle addiction knows the helplessness and fear that comes with it. You want to save them, but you can't force them to get better. Rob tried everything to help his son, but addiction is a disease that doesn't care about how famous or successful your parents are. Now we come to what happened on December 14, 2025. On Saturday night, December 13th, Rob and Nick attended a holiday party thrown by comedian Conan O'Brien. Multiple sources who were at the party told news outlets that Rob and Nick got into a brief but loud argument at the party. Other guests noticed Nick acting strangely. One source said Nick stood alone by a fire pit smoking a cigarette, dressed casually in a hoodie and jeans while everyone else was dressed up. He wasn't talking to anyone. When people tried to make eye contact with him, his expression was flat and emotionless. Nobody realized at the time that anything was seriously wrong. The next day, Sunday, December 15th, Rob and Michelle's daughter Romy went to check on her parents at their home in the Brentwood neighborhood of Los Angeles around p.m. When she went inside, she discovered both of her parents dead. They had been stabbed multiple times. Romy left the house, found her friend who was staying with her, and told the friend to call 911. Paramedics arrived around 3:30 p.m. and confirmed both Rob, age 78, and Michele, age 68, were dead. When police arrived and began investigating, they learned from family members that Nick had been living in a guest house on the property. He wasn't there when they arrived. Detectives also learned about his history of drug addiction and about the argument that happened at the party the night before. Police began searching for Nick around 9:15 p.m. Sunday night. About 6 hours after the bodies were discovered, Nick was found near the University of Southern California campus in the Exposition Park area of Los Angeles, about 15 miles from his parents' home. Surveillance footage obtained by news outlets showed Nick at a gas station convenience store shortly before his arrest, wearing a black baseball cap and carrying a red backpack, buying a drink. Other footage showed police vehicles pulling up as Nick put his hands in the air. He did not resist arrest. He was taken into custody and booked on suspicion of murder. On Tuesday, December 17th, Los Angeles County District Attorney Nathan Hochman announced that Nick Reiner, age 32, was being charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder with special circumstances of multiple murders and special allegations that he used a knife as a deadly weapon. These charges carry a maximum sentence of life in prison without possibility of parole or the death penalty. Prosecutors said they had not yet decided whether to seek the death penalty. Hochman said in a press conference that the alleged stabbings occurred in the early morning hours of December 14. Nick appeared in court on Wednesday, December 18. He did not enter a plea, and his arraignment was continued until January 7, 2026. His defense attorney, Alan Jackson, who previously defended Karen Reed in a high-profile Massachusetts case, told reporters there were very complex and serious issues associated with the case. He urged the public not to rush to judgment. Nick is being held without bail. The news sent shockwaves through Hollywood and beyond. Rob Reiner had created films that touched millions of people's lives. He was beloved by actors who worked with him, Billy Crystal, Martin Short, and Larry David, who were close friends of Rob and Michele, released a statement saying the couple had devoted a great deal of their lives to bettering society, that they were a special force together, dynamic, unselfish, and inspiring. Actor Mandy Patinkin, who starred in The Princess Bride, said Rob taught him lessons about living with greater purpose. Jerry O'Connell, who was a child actor in Stand By Me, said Rob was like a father to him and called the news surreal. The tragedy is almost impossible to process. A son allegedly murdering both parents. A family destroyed in the most violent way imaginable. 3 decades of battling addiction ending in the worst possible outcome. Rob and Michele tried for years to help Nick. They got him treatment. They made a movie with him to process his addiction. They never gave up on him. And now they're gone, allegedly killed by the child they tried so hard to save. This case raises difficult questions about mental illness, addiction, and family violence. Was Nick under the influence of drugs when this allegedly happened? Police said they couldn't confirm that. Did he have mental health issues beyond addiction? Prosecutors said any evidence of that would come out in court. What exactly triggered this alleged violence after the party? We don't know yet. The legal process will slowly reveal more facts over the coming months. What we do know is that Rob Reiner's legacy as a filmmaker is secure. His films will continue to be watched and loved for generations. The Princess Bride will still make people laugh. When Harry Met Sally will still define romantic comedy. Stand By Me will still capture what it feels like to be young. Misery will still terrify audiences. A Few Good Men will still deliver powerful drama. This Is Spinal Tap will still be hilarious. Rob's work will outlive this tragedy. But for his family and friends, the pain will never fully heal. His daughter Romy discovered her parents' bodies and will carry that trauma forever. His son Jake lost both parents and now his brother faces life in prison. His grandchildren lost their grandparents. His friends lost people they loved. And the entertainment industry lost one of its most talented and influential figures in the most horrific way imaginable. Subscribe for updates on this developing case and tributes to Rob Reiner's incredible career.